Do your kids cringe at the sound of copywork? Copywork is a traditional practice amongst many homeschool families, especially those who follow the Charlotte Mason approach, where children copy pre-selected passages in their best handwriting. Usually a piece of copywork is a short passage taken from a book, a verse, a poem, and represents high quality literature. But is this best practice when it comes to teaching kids the art of writing? Research in the field says no. In the olden days, children learned to write using the apprenticeship model, copying masters' works. They learned to write through the process of imitation. Today, there's a great deal of evidence to support children learning to write in much more authentic and meaningful ways. I'm sharing 3 research-based strategies that you can incorporate into your homeschool program instead of old-fashioned copywork, so that your child learns to write in developmentally appropriate ways, has more ownership of their writing, and actually enjoys the writing process. The first strategy is called share the pen. Now, have you ever climbed a tall ladder? A little scary, right? We start at the bottom, making sure we have a strong and solid foundation, and use the support of the wall to lean on. In education, this is called scaffolding. We hold our child's hand, we model for them those tasks that feel a little bit out of reach for your child. Share the pen is an example of scaffolding. Together, you and your child take turns writing something meaningful, a story about something that happened on the weekend, a recipe, or a retelling of a familiar story. You model for your child what it means to stretch out a word slowly, how to write the sounds he hears, how to leave spaces between words, and how to form letters correctly. Your child will likely feel a little more confident and ready to take on risks in his writing now that he has had that support. The second strategy is to edit their own work. Instead of copying the work of somebody else, why not have your child edit their own work? You can use an excerpt from their writing and, using another piece of paper, copy their passage using conventional spelling. Ask for their help with the editing, the spelling mistakes, the punctuation, the omissions, the capitalizations, and finally have them rewrite that passage correctly. This is so much more meaningful and authentic, rather than having them copy some arbitrary message that has little meaning or connection to your child. Using their own work and ideas means that your child will be much more invested and have more ownership of their writing. In this approach, they are learning the skill of editing, a process all good writers must learn. Now, the third strategy is called morning message. Morning message is a daily letter written to your child. Each day, you might have a specific literacy focus. In my practice, I have 5 rotating skills that we practice and a different focus for each day. I teach these all inside my all-in-one curriculum and implementation program called Artful Teaching, Joyful Learning. This focused daily literacy rhythm allows you to focus on one specific strategy at a time so that your child is not overwhelmed by all the conventions needed. In copywork, there are so many tasks on which your child has to focus. They need to mind the lines, make sure their handwriting is anchored on the lines of the page, which is a very difficult skill for young children. They need to attend to spelling conventions. They use very heavy visual processing skills as they have to look at the passage and then back at their own work. This back and forth process can be really tiring for little minds. They have to be able to decode words, and these are likely words that they do not even know how to spell yet. And they have to print legibly. In morning message, the adult educator is modeling good writing and in real time uses those teachable moments to model different literacy skills. It's an interactive back and forth process, and children's involvement helps them to construct their own understanding of the written word. This is called Constructivist learning theory. Children building their knowledge about the world rather than being passive receivers of information, like in copywork. One example of morning message is transformers. This is a strategy where we use letters from the message to record new words. This is known as the making words strategy and helps our young learners with spelling skills and sight word reinforcement. Now, there might be fear or insecurity about abandoning copywork altogether. After all, it is a neat and tidy exercise and a fairly prep-free way to keep our kids busy. But there is very little research in the field to support this kind of learning. Instead, opt for ways that involve our children more inclusively, their words and their work. And you'll likely have much greater cooperation and enjoyment from them as we serve them with the tools that they need to grow as budding authors. Come join me for my bookmaking workshop, where we will explore all kinds of homemade book structures that you can make with even your youngest learners. These books span across the curriculum, from language arts to math to science and social studies, and provide a beautiful creative outlet for your child's writing. Details down below.